Long Island, December of 1992. Katie Beers was just 2 days away from turning 10 years old when her world, already marked by abuse and neglect, sank even deeper into darkness. Behind the facade of a family friend, John Esposito, a 43-year-old predator known as Big Brother, had meticulously planned the kidnapping of young Katie. What no one knew was that, for years, he had built an underground bunker specifically for her. A coffin-sized prison where he would keep her for 17 days of terror. The most astonishing part is that, despite her young age, she managed to outsmart him and ensure her own survival. Stay until the end of the video to understand how a 9-year-old child managed to overcome an experienced predator. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel to discover more stories like this one. On December 28, 1992, John Esposito, 43 years old, planned his final move. He approached Linda, Katie Beers' godmother, with what seemed like an innocent proposal: to take the girl to the Spaceplex arcade as an early birthday present. The perfect bait was a Barbie dream house. Behind the facade of Big Brother, a nickname he earned for his closeness to neighborhood children, Esposito concealed a dark past. In 1977, he had attempted to kidnap a 7-year-old child at a shopping mall. Nevertheless, he maintained his image as a family friend intact, even going so far as to put up posters in local stores offering mechanics lessons for boys in his renovated garage. While promising a Barbie dream house to Katie Beers, John Esposito had already prepared a very different kind of house for the girl. An underground bunker that cost $5,000 and years of planning to construct. The financial and time investment revealed the extent of the crime's premeditation. Located in Bay Shore, at 1416 Saxon Avenue, the hideout was a sinister work of engineering that demonstrated disturbing technical knowledge. Access began in Esposito's office, where a removable bookshelf concealed a concrete slab. To move it required a system of pulleys and blocks. Beneath it, a 200-pound trapdoor, too heavy for any child to move, opened the way to a 6-foot-deep vertical tunnel. The underground structure, built with reinforced concrete, was divided into 2 strategically planned areas: a larger soundproof room that served as a kind of antechamber, and a claustrophobic compartment the size of a coffin. This latter space, measuring approximately 6 by 7 feet, which would become Katie's main prison, contained only the basics: a narrow bed fixed to the wall, a small television, and metal chains anchored in the concrete. The ventilation system was carefully designed to be imperceptible from the surface. The bunker featured professional acoustic insulation in the walls, ensuring that no sound would escape. The electrical installation was independent from the rest of the house, to avoid raising suspicions about energy consumption. Every detail had been meticulously thought out to keep the captivity secret for an indefinite period. The bunker was so technically perfect that even when police mounted surveillance on Esposito's property, investigators regularly passed over it without suspecting its existence. The office carpet and bookshelf were specifically chosen not to show signs of frequent trapdoor use. The weight of the concrete door was calculated to require considerable force to open, making any escape attempt impossible for a child. The construction that was supposed to house Katie's birthday present revealed itself to be her planned prison, an underground monument to her kidnapper's obsession. The manipulation extended beyond Katie. Esposito regularly bought presents for Linda, creating a dynamic where the godmother allowed him access to the girl as a form of reciprocation. Katie had become, unknowingly, a bargaining chip in a macabre game of favors. On December 28, 1992, John Esposito's plan was set in motion. After getting Linda's permission to take Katie to the Spaceplex arcade, he first took the girl to buy a video game. It was a familiar routine for Katie. She frequently visited Esposito's house to play video games in his room. Witnesses at the arcade contradicted Esposito's initial version. While he claimed Katie had disappeared at the location, several people confirmed to the police that they saw him enter alone. In fact, Esposito never took Katie to Spaceplex. Instead, they went straight to his house. Katie, accustomed to spending time there, suspected nothing when she started playing video games in Esposito's room. It was when he made sexual advances that she refused. The refusal triggered violence. Katie was dragged to the office. Katie's last communication was a voice message left for her godmother Linda. "Aunt Linda, a man kidnapped me and has a knife and oh no, Here he comes now. The police would later discover that this message was recorded under coercion from a phone near the arcade, but the background noise indicated it had been recorded elsewhere. Esposito then forced Katie through the system he had built, the removable bookshelf, the 200-pound trapdoor, and the 6-foot tunnel that led to the bunker. The place where she would remain for the next 17 days was less than 100 yards from where she regularly played during visits to her kidnapper's house. Inside the concrete bunker, Katie Beers developed an extraordinary survival plan. Her first decision: not to sleep. The reason was precise. Esposito wanted to photograph her appearing dead to convince the police to stop searching. Without the photo, the searches would continue. Her second strategy was to refuse food. Katie suspected Esposito might be mixing sedatives to facilitate the photo he needed. For a 9-year-old child, choosing to go hungry demonstrated an advanced understanding of her situation. Katie also discovered one of the keys to the coffin room and hid it under her pillow. In her moments alone, she explored the larger bunker looking for exits. Upon hearing Esposito returning, she would quickly return to her prison, maintaining the illusion of control he expected to have. Her most powerful weapon, however, was psychological manipulation. Katie began asking strategic questions about the future. How would she attend school? How would she get a job? What would their life be like? Each question was calculated to make Esposito question his own plan. Katie watched the news on the bunker's TV, following the searches for her own disappearance. This kept her informed and fueled her determination. She knew she needed to keep the searches active and, for that, she needed to prevent Esposito from sending any proof of her death to the police. In a space designed to break her spirit, Katie transformed her young mind into a survival tool. Hungry, sleep-deprived, but determined, a 9-year-old girl was methodically deconstructing her kidnapper's plans using only her intelligence. On January 13, 1993, after 17 days of fruitless searches, John Esposito walked into his lawyer's office to make a confession that would shock everyone. The man whom the police had been watching 24 hours a day finally broke, not just from police pressure, but from the psychological warfare waged by a 9-year-old girl. The confession was a chain process. First, Esposito revealed to his lawyer that Katie Beers was alive and still in captivity. The lawyer immediately contacted the authorities. Then, Esposito led the police to his house on 1416 Saxon Avenue, where he would begin to reveal the elaborate system he had built. The moment of revelation was tense and methodical. In the office, Esposito demonstrated how he first needed to remove a specific bookshelf from the wall. Then, he carefully rolled up the carpet to reveal the first level of his construction. Using a system of pulleys and counterweights, he then lifted a 200-pound concrete slab that served as the bunker's door. The police, who had maintained surveillance less than 100 yards away for days, watched the demonstration with a mixture of shock and frustration. They had been so close. The trapdoor revealed a 6-foot vertical tunnel that led to the main bunker. The structure was so well built that even searches with sniffer dogs had not detected Katie's presence. The trigger for the confession came from Katie's final psychological play. The day before, she told Esposito she was sick and not feeling well. This final manipulation, combined with 17 days of constant questions about unrealizable future plans and the pressure of uninterrupted police surveillance, finally broke his resistance. During the initial interrogation, Esposito tried to construct a distorted narrative. He claimed that the $5,000 bunker was a project for Katie that had been planned with care. He insisted that he never wanted to hurt her and that he intended to give her a good life. The police would soon discover that he had planned every detail of the kidnapping for years, watching Katie play in the earth he removed to build her underground prison. The rescue moment was particularly revealing. The police team, descending through the dark tunnel, first found the larger soundproof room. Then, they encountered the coffin-sized compartment. There was Katie, chained by the neck, but conscious and surprisingly alert. The television was still on. She was following the news about her own search. On January 13, 1993, when the rescue team began descending the vertical tunnel of the bunker where Katie Beers was being held captive, they didn't find the scene of relief they expected. Instead of a child eager for rescue, they encountered a terrified survivor who believed she was about to face more abuse. I was terrified because I believed more men were coming to hurt me, Katie would later reveal. The 9-year-old girl, still chained by the neck in a coffin-sized space, shrank into the farthest corner of her prison upon hearing the first sounds of boots descending the concrete tunnel. The police found a disturbing scenario. Katie was visibly malnourished, a result of her strategic refusal to accept food that might have been tampered with. A small television was still broadcasting news, the same one she used to follow the searches for her own disappearance. The marks on her neck evidenced the 17 days spent in chains. The rescue process required extreme caution. The team had to repeatedly identify themselves as police officers, ensuring they were there to save her. The bunker, built with professional acoustic insulation, maintained a sepulchral silence broken only by the cautious voices of the rescuers and Katie's rapid breathing. The physical extraction from the bunker presented significant challenges. The vertical tunnel, designed by Esposito as an access route to captivity, now served as the only path to freedom. Katie, weakened and disoriented, needed to be carefully guided through the narrow passage. Upon emerging from the bunker, the sensory impact was immense. Even under the cloudy January sky, natural light dazzled Katie's eyes, accustomed to 17 days of near-constant darkness. The cold winter air provoked an immediate physical reaction. It was the first time in more than 2 weeks that she breathed fresh air. The moment I realized they were really police officers, that they were there to save me, was when I started to relax, Katie later reported. However, specialists who followed the case noted that the trauma of the rescue would be just the first of many obstacles in her recovery. Katie Beers' true transformation began the moment she was placed under the care of a foster family after her rescue. For the first time in her life, she experienced what it meant to be just a child. I had no responsibilities beyond homework and riding my bicycle, Katie revealed. It was the first time I could really play. Her foster parents made a crucial decision to keep her away from the media spotlight. While the world was hungry for details about the bunker girl, they built a protective wall around her. This decision, according to Katie, was fundamental to her recovery. My foster parents allowed me to have a normal childhood, something I never had before, she explained in her book, Buried Memories. The healing process was methodical and intensive. Katie was immediately enrolled in therapy, where she began the arduous work of processing not just the 17 days of captivity, but an entire life of previous abuse. For years, she used what she called a coping mechanism, completely blocking out traumatic memories. However, writing her book forced her to confront this past. I wasn't just physically abused, Katie revealed, but also sexually abused and raped by my captor. Someone who, before the kidnapping, had never touched me. Years later, I discovered he had molested my biological brother, and people in my family knew about it. This revelation demonstrates how her transformation included not just personal healing, but also the courage to expose painful truths. The decision to become a motivational speaker wasn't immediate. In 2013, on the 20th anniversary of her rescue, Katie finally decided to use her voice publicly. As a child, I wanted to write a book for selfish reasons, she admitted. But when I got older, it evolved into really wanting to help people, to show that through tragedy, with the right support system and counseling, you can overcome. On September 4, 2013, in Sing Sing prison, John Esposito, then 64 years old, finally admitted the truth he had denied for 2 decades. Hours after this late confession, he would be found dead in his cell, closing one of the darkest chapters in Long Island's criminal history. That day's parole hearing marked a significant shift in Esposito's narrative. For the first time in 20 years, he admitted to inappropriately touching Katie Beers. It was a partial admission, still minimizing the extent of his crimes, but represented a significant break in his pattern of denial. During the hearing, Esposito revealed a disturbing detail about his initial defense. According to him, his lawyer had advised him to admit nothing beyond the kidnapping. It was a mistake to follow that advice, he declared to the parole board. I should have admitted everything from the beginning. This late confession, although significant, still didn't encompass the full extent of the abuse described by Katie. The timing of Esposito's death raised questions. Found unconscious in his cell just hours after his first admission of guilt in 2 decades, his death was officially attributed to natural causes, specifically heart disease. The temporal coincidence between his partial confession and his death generated speculation, although no evidence of irregularity was found. Esposito's legal history revealed a disturbing pattern of plea bargaining and minimization. In 1994, he pleaded guilty only to kidnapping, with sexual abuse charges being dropped as part of a plea deal. He was sentenced to 15 years to life, a sentence that many considered inadequate given the heinous nature of his crimes. Throughout his prison years, Esposito maintained a distorted narrative of his actions. In correspondence and interviews, he often characterized his relationship with Katie as special, insisting that he had built the $5,000 bunker for her. He even claimed that he really thought it would be good for both of us, a disturbing demonstration of his inability to recognize the criminal nature of his actions. In a particularly revealing letter cited by True Crime Daily, Esposito wrote, "I know I'm guilty of my crime, but I believe I've been punished enough. After all, I didn't kill anyone." This statement exemplifies his persistent tendency to minimize the gravity of his acts, even after years of incarceration. Katie's reaction to Esposito's death was remarkably measured. In a statement to the Associated Press, she said, "While I'm happy that John Esposito finally admitted to inappropriately touching me, I'm sad that even after 20 years he's still minimizing what he put me through during my 17 days in captivity." She added, "I'm sad for the loss of life, but at the same time relieved that John Esposito will never have parole or the opportunity to hurt anyone again." The case of Salvatore, the uncle who had abused Katie before the kidnapping, had a different outcome. Arrested on October 16, 1993 on sexual assault charges, he initially denied all accusations and was released on bail. However, Katie's courageous testimony led to his conviction and 12-year prison sentence in 1994. Salvatore would never know freedom again, dying in prison in 2009. Justice in the Katie Beers case was a complex process and, in many ways, incomplete. While Salvatore died serving his sentence, Esposito managed to avoid full responsibility for his crimes for 2 decades, admitting the truth only hours before his death. The legal system, which had failed to protect Katie as a child, also seemed inadequate in providing a complete measure of justice in her adulthood. At 41 years old, Katie Beers transformed her trauma into a powerful force for social change. As a motivational speaker and children's rights advocate, she has made a significant impact in the fight against child abuse. Through her book, Buried Memories, and impactful lectures, Katie offers a unique perspective on the psychology of an abused child and the systemic failures that allow these abuses to happen. She advocates for crucial changes in the educational system and CPS, insisting that abuse be discussed in schools from an early age. As a consultant and survivor, her work influences reforms in the judicial system and child protection policies. Her mantra, "Your life is 100% what you make it," inspires other survivors. Today, as a mother of 2 children and a successful professional, Katie demonstrates that it's possible to overcome trauma and build a meaningful life, using her experience to protect children who, like she once was, need a voice. If you've made it this far, leave in the comments what surprised you most about Katie Beers' extraordinary intelligence. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to learn more stories like this one. Until the next video,